Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating financial loophole. Think of it like a modern-day bank heist, but one that doesn't need masks or getaway cars. Nope, this one uses the bank's very own rulebook against itself.
So get this, how could you possibly steal cash from an ATM and then somehow get the bank to just pay you back for it? It sounds completely nuts, right? But that's the big question we're tackling. We are going to break down exactly how a rule that was made to protect you can get twisted into a tool for fraud. It's a surprisingly clever scheme that all comes down to timing.
Okay, so to really get how this heist works, we first have to understand the rule book that's being exploited. The entire scam is basically built around a specific federal law that was put in place to keep your money safe.
At the very heart of this story is something called Regulation E. You can think of it as your financial safety net for the digital world. Every time you swipe your debit card, pull cash from an ATM, or set up an auto payment, Reg E is the set of rules that kicks in if something goes wrong.
So, one of the biggest things Reg E does is it puts a hard limit on how much money you can actually lose if your card gets stolen or used for fraud. But, and this is a big but, there's a catch. How much you're protected really depends on how fast you report the problem.
And you can see that urgency right here in this table. If you report a lost card within 2 business days, the most you're on the hook for is just $50. But if you wait longer than that, it shoots up to $500. And if you let it go past 60 days, well, you could be liable for everything. In this game, time is literally money. But here's the thing, that pressure, that ticking clock, it doesn't just apply to you. It also puts the bank on a really tight schedule the second you file a dispute. And that timeline, well, that's the exact vulnerability that gets exploited. So here's how that timeline works. After you report an issue, the bank has just 10 business days for its initial investigation. Now, for an ATM withdrawal, that can be really tricky. The bank has to request records, maybe even camera footage from a totally different company, the one that operates the ATM. And that takes time. If they can't figure out what happened in those 10 days, the law says they have to issue something called a provisional credit.
So what is this provisional credit? It's a huge part of Regulation E. The whole idea is that you shouldn't be out of your own money while the bank is trying to sort things out. So they give you this temporary credit for the amount you disputed. It's a really great consumer-friendly rule, but as we're about to see, it's also the key that unlocks the vault.
Okay, so we've got this well-intentioned rule designed that help people. How in the world does it get turned completely on its head? Now that we know the rules of the game, let's take a look at how they get broken. The scam itself is brutally simple. First, a fraudster opens a brand new account and puts in, let's say, $1,000. Then they go right to an ATM and withdraw that same $1,000 in cash. Right after that, they call the bank, claim the withdrawal was fraudulent, and then they just wait. They know the bank has only 10 business days, and once that clock runs out, the bank, following the rules, issues a $1,000 provisional credit. The fraudster grabs that new money and disappears.
And this isn't just a theory. This quote from the security experts at Unit 21 confirms it. This is a calculated attack. These scammers have read the rulebook, and they are actively weaponizing that consumer protection timeline against the bank itself.
And here's where the trap snaps shut. Eventually, the bank will get the records from the ATM operator, and those records will prove that, yep, the cash was absolutely withdrawn. But by then, it's way too late. The fraudster has already walked away with double the money, the original cash they took out plus the provisional credit. The bank is left holding the bag.
So, if the rules themselves are what's creating the loophole, how do banks even begin to fight back? Well, it turns out it takes a mix of high-tech tools and some good old-fashioned detective work to build a solid defense.
See, the answer isn't about changing the laws that protect us. It's about getting way smarter at spotting the bad guys the moment they walk through the digital door. Banks are now using some really powerful analytics to look for patterns of behavior that just don't add up for a normal customer. And these are the kinds of red flags our systems are constantly searching for. Things like a brand new account that's immediately emptied at an ATM, or a provisional credit that gets yanked out the second it hits the account. But they're also looking at the bigger picture, connecting the dots between accounts that might be using similar emails or making claims from the same city. It's all about finding the fraud network before it can do too much damage.
So what you end up with is this constant cat and mouse game. Regulation E is an absolutely critical protection for all of us. But for every rule we create to keep us safe, you can bet someone out there is already trying to figure out how to break it. It means banks have to constantly be innovating their security just to stay one step ahead.
And that kind of leaves us with one last thought. This particular Rig E scam is now being fought with data and advanced analytics. But that underlying tension, that's always going to be there. As our technology and our rules get smarter to protect our money, the methods of the people trying to take it are going to evolve right alongside them. Makes you wonder, what's the next loophole going to be?